Former U.S. President Donald Trump's recent reaffirmation of his tariff policy has sent shockwaves through global markets. His stance has reignited fears of a global trade war. This has created a climate of uncertainty in the global economy. Investors are particularly concerned about the impact on Asia. Many Asian economies are heavily reliant on trade. Trump's tariff policy is a return to protectionist trade policies. This approach aims to protect domestic industries from foreign competition. However, economists have warned against the negative consequences of such policies. They argue that tariffs ultimately harm consumers and hinder global economic growth. The situation has left many wondering about the future of global trade. The immediate impact of Trump's announcement was felt most acutely in Asian markets. Key indices experienced significant declines. The Japanese Nikkei 225 plunged by 6.5%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index followed suit with a 4% drop. These sharp drops reflect the deep anxieties within the global financial system. The uncertainty surrounding Trump's long-term economic strategy has only amplified these concerns. Investors are left to grapple with the potential for escalating trade tensions. This lack of clarity makes it difficult for businesses to plan for the future. It also raises the specter of a protracted trade war that could have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. Asian markets have been hit particularly hard by the uncertainty surrounding Trump's tariff policy. These economies are heavily reliant on exports. The prospect of reduced trade with the United States is a significant threat to their economic stability. The financial sector in these countries has felt the most immediate impact. Banks and investment firms across Asia have witnessed billions of dollars in losses. This is a direct result of the stock market declines. Investors are pulling their money out of riskier assets. They are seeking safer havens in the face of uncertainty. This flight to safety is a classic indicator of market anxiety. The situation is particularly dire for export-oriented economies like Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea. These countries rely heavily on the U.S. market for their exports. A significant disruption in trade flows could have devastating consequences for their economies. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, has already warned of a potential global growth decline of up to 0.5% in 2025. The IMF's warning highlights the interconnected nature of the global economy. Actions taken by one country, particularly a major economic power like the United States, have ripple effects across the globe. The current situation underscores the need for international cooperation and dialogue to address trade disputes and maintain global economic stability. The impact of Trump's tariff policy extends far beyond Asia. European markets have also experienced declines. This reflects a broader global concern about the potential for a trade war. Multinational companies are delaying investments due to the uncertain trade landscape. This hesitancy to invest could further dampen global economic growth. Investors are particularly worried about the prospect of prolonged trade wars. Such conflicts would disrupt global supply chains and increase costs for businesses. This would likely lead to higher prices for consumers. Inflation is already a concern in many parts of the world. A trade war would only exacerbate this problem. The uncertainty surrounding Trump's tariff policy is fueling market volatility. Investors are unsure how long these tariffs will remain in place. They are also uncertain about the potential for retaliation from other countries. This lack of clarity makes it difficult to assess the long-term economic impact of these policies. The global community is watching closely to see how the situation unfolds. Many are hoping that diplomacy and dialogue will prevail. They believe that a negotiated solution is in the best interests of all parties involved. However, the possibility of a protracted trade war remains a real threat to the global economy. The future of global trade hangs in the balance as the world grapples with the implications of Trump's tariff policy. The global economy is at a crossroads. One path leads to greater protectionism and trade wars. The other path leads to cooperation and open markets. The choices made in the coming months and years will have profound consequences for the global economy. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, has issued a stark warning about the risks of escalating trade tensions. The IMF argues that protectionist policies will ultimately harm global economic growth. They urge world leaders to pursue dialogue and cooperation to resolve trade disputes. Failure to do so could have dire consequences for the global economy. European leaders have echoed the IMF's call for dialogue. They are urging the United States to reconsider its tariff policy. European countries are also preparing to retaliate with tariffs of their own if necessary. This tit-for-tat escalation of trade barriers is a dangerous game that could spiral out of control. The global community must work together to prevent a trade war. Open markets and free trade have been major drivers of global economic growth in recent decades. A retreat into protectionism would be a costly mistake. The stakes are high and the world is watching. The future of global trade, and indeed the global economy, hangs in the balance.